Here in Southwest Florida, one of the topics that comes up a lot for me revolves around what we call wetlands. Specifically, whether or not you can build in what's determined to be a wetland area. My goal today is to try to clear up some of the questions and concerns that people have when it comes to buying vacant land here in Southwest Florida. In order to do that, you first really need to understand that there's two types of property. There's uplands and there's wetlands. Let's go through for some clarity on the differences between the two types. So first and foremost, uplands. Uplands generally are a little bit of a higher elevation. The soil content is generally dry, absent of course of our strong rainy season, but it does drain rather quickly. As an indicator of uplands, the type of plant species that tend to grow there are lots of pine trees, lots of oaks, some cabbage palm, things like that. Additionally, the type of animals that you're going to find, and I promise this will all make sense, that's where you're going to find your black bears. That's where you're going to find your gopher tortoises and other animals, panthers here in our area, bobcats, that don't like the swampy ground. Generally, upland property is buildable with just a few restrictions. Okay, so let's talk about wetlands. Wetlands are known to really be nature's kidneys. Generally a lower lying area, and pretty much 12 months out of the year, you're either going to see standing water or at the very minimum, the soil is saturated pretty much at all times. The type of plant species that you're going to see in a wetland area, you're going to have cypress trees, you're going to have lots of long grasses, ferns, things like that, right? Also, all a very good indicator of wetland property. As far as animal species, that's where you're going to find your snakes, your storks, your spoonbills, right? All of the things that really like that wet, damp climate. So now that we have a better understanding of each type of property or land, let's talk about what it takes to build in either one of these. And notice I said build in either one because it is very much possible to build in a wetland area. As I already mentioned, in an upland area, there's very few restrictions that would prevent you from building. Most of those are probably zoning related or some sort of local law, some sort of restriction in place on the type of dwelling that you could build, etc. In a wetland area, however, if you're going to impact or build in a wetland area, you're going to be required to go through a process called mitigation. And in essence, mitigation is the government setting aside an additional piece of property and earmarking that for conservation, which then would allow you to impact that environmentally sensitive wetland area to build what you'd like. So if you're going to build or attempt to build in a wetland area, you're going to have to pay a mitigation fee, or they call credits, right? And based on the amount of property that you're going to impact, the larger the fee or the larger the credit that you're going to have to purchase. You purchase those credits from something called a mitigation bank. And here's a few things to keep in mind during that process. Right now in the state of Florida, from the time you apply for that mitigation credit till the time you actually receive the ability to do so, we're looking at somewhere between 12 to 18 months. On average, to mitigate or get the opportunity to impact maybe a quarter of an acre, we're currently running on a dollar amount of somewhere between $25,000 and $50,000. So pretty costly. Based on that information, you can see why there's generally a pretty large price difference between upland property, which is shovel ready to start building, and property that has to be mitigated, right? Not everyone has the ability to wait 2 years to even just get something out of the ground. The cost is determined by a very detailed assessment called the Uniform Mitigation Assessment Method, or UMAM for short. The amount that you're going to pay based on this assessment is generally based on location, the quality of the wetlands, and the chemical makeup of the soil content. Not to get in the weeds, but that's how they come up with it. To put it into perspective, I'm currently helping a customer of mine build another home in a wetland area. And it's going to cost us to build a 2,500 square foot home on about 1/3 of an acre. It's going to cost us roughly $37,000 in mitigation fees. Oh, and by the way, we've waited 2 years for this permit. All right, so I gave you a lot of info, right? You might even call it dry info. See what I did there? Bottom line, in my 20 plus years here selling real estate, I've become very well versed in vacant land sales. So if you're thinking about making a purchase or selling vacant land, give me a call and I can help you through the process. And don't forget, only the sunset covers Southwest Florida better.